It's Friday, 7 March. Welcome to the PDB Afternoon Bulletin. I'm Mike Baker, your eyes and ears on the world stage. Let's get briefed. First, President Trump has made a personal appeal to Iran's supreme leader, that's right, to come to the negotiating table to strike a new nuclear deal, while also threatening military action if he refuses. That's the classic carrot-and-stick approach, isn't it? Later in the show, we'll discuss personnel reductions, known in some circles as terminations. They quietly began this week at the CIA. Intelligence officials warn these staff cuts could severely damage U.S. national security interests and set the agency back years. But first, today's afternoon spotlight. In another interesting, possibly unorthodox diplomatic move, President Trump has personally reached out to Iranian leaders in an effort to strike a new nuclear deal that would rein in that country's nuclear development and avert the need for military intervention. The surprising revelation, given the regime's past attempts to assassinate President Trump, came during an interview that Trump gave to Fox Business on Friday, where he reiterated his intent to find a peaceful solution to Iran's pursuit of a bomb. That is, of course, if the Islamic regime is willing to play ball. Trump said he sent a letter on Wednesday directly to Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, offering him a choice between engaging in good faith negotiations or facing the wrath of the American military. It does make you wonder what the cost of mailing a letter from Washington to Tehran would be, and I do hope that they used one of those Ronald Reagan postage stamps. The letter comes in the wake of a confidential UN report that leaked last week, so not particularly confidential, which warned that Tehran has vastly increased their stockpile of highly enriched uranium over the past month, and now has enough to produce at least 6 nuclear weapons. Trump said, quote, "There are 2 ways Iran can be handled, militarily or you make a deal. I would prefer to make a deal." He added, quote, "I'm not sure that everybody agrees with me, but we can make a deal that would be just as good as if you won militarily," end quote. While Trump stressed that his letter was not meant as an ultimatum to Iran, he also threatened what he described as, quote, "terrible consequences for the regime should they refuse to back down on the nuclear issue." The president added that time was of the essence, warning that he'll have to take action soon one way or the other because, quote, "you can't let them have a nuclear weapon." The president did not tip his hand on what, if anything, was offered to entice Iran into accepting his invitation, and Iran's foreign ministry has yet to acknowledge the diplomatic outreach. But a state-run media outlet closely affiliated with Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, dismissed the letter as a, quote, "repetitive show," whatever that means, by Washington, according to a report from Reuters. But if recent developments give us any clue, Trump does appear serious about bringing Iran to the table. As we discussed earlier this week, a report from Bloomberg said that during recent diplomatic talks between U.S. and Russian delegations, Moscow had offered to use their friendly relationship with the Islamic regime to broker a new nuclear deal with the West. While the White House has not publicly commented on the situation, the report said that Trump did appear interested in the possibility. As a reminder, in 2015, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the nuclear deal, was reached between Iran, the U.S., and 5 other world powers. The deal restricted Iran's nuclear capabilities in exchange for sanctions relief and extensive UN oversight, though Iran was quickly accused of flouting the terms of the deal, and they did refuse access to key sites for monitoring purposes. Trump withdrew from the agreement in 2018, reimposing sanctions as part of a maximum pressure strategy that left the Iranian economy in tatters. Despite the financial damage, though, Iran responded by accelerating their enrichment of uranium to 60% purity. That's near weapons-grade levels, and restricting access to additional nuclear sites. Given the threat that a nuclear Iran would pose to Israel and other regional players, Trump has made halting their progress a top priority in his second term. As part of his effort to force meaningful concessions from the Iranian regime, Trump has returned to his maximum pressure strategy, reimposing aggressive sanctions on Iran's shadowy oil trade just last week. But so far, Iran remains as defiant as ever. Late last week, Iran's foreign minister issued a statement vowing that the regime will not negotiate on their nuclear program under pressure and sanctions from the Trump administration. Instead, the regime has reportedly placed the country's nuclear facilities on high alert and deployed additional air defense systems around key nuclear and missile sites to guard against potential joint military action by the U.S. and Israel. All right, coming up next, staff cuts at the CIA. We'll look at the potential ramifications for U.S. national security interests. I'll be right back. Welcome back to the Afternoon Bulletin. Turning to the U.S., the Trump administration's purge of the federal workforce continues, and now it has reached into the intelligence community with a shakeup at the CIA. CIA Director John Ratcliffe reportedly began quietly firing a number of recent hires at the spy agency earlier this week, with more expected in the days and weeks ahead. A source familiar with the matter told Reuters that the recent hires, known as probationary employees, were fired for performance-related issues, though the news sparked concerns on Capitol Hill about the potential national security ramifications as the employees worked across a number of different CIA portfolios. It remains unclear how many intelligence officers will be shown the exit, but the source told Reuters that it's a sizable number. The agency, as with many other government organizations, regularly evaluates staff performance and maintains a list of the bottom 10% performers. Those are the individuals reportedly let go. The cuts came after a federal judge ruled last week that the administration could move forward with plans to fire dozens of employees from the CIA and the Office of the Director of Intelligence, the DNI, who had temporary positions working on DEI initiatives. But that ruling also had ramifications for the broader employee base, granting the CIA the authority to terminate employees at will. In a statement, a spokesman for the CIA said, quote, "We are reviewing personnel within their first 2 years of service at the agency. For some personnel, that process will result in termination." The statement added, quote, "Our officers face unique pressures from working in situations that are fast-paced and high stakes. It's not for everyone," end quote. But the way that the first round of firings was conducted has raised eyebrows. The process got underway last month when, on the direction of the White House, the CIA sent an unclassified email to the Office of Personnel Management, OPM, containing the first names and initial of last names of probationary employees. The email startled members of Congress and the intelligence community, who said they feared the identities of the officers could be publicly leaked or fall into the hands of a foreign adversary. This week, those affected personnel were instructed to report to a location away from agency's headquarters in Langley and were subsequently instructed to turn over their credentials, according to sources who spoke with NBC News. Additionally, members of the House and Senate Intelligence Committees were reportedly left in the dark about the personnel changes. An anonymous official said members of the committees were blindsided by the dismissals and will be asking CIA leadership to share more information regarding the situation in the coming days. The move also provoked alarm among former members of the intelligence community, who said it could take the agency years to recover, given the time and effort put into vetting and recruiting and training new officers. Stephen Cash, a former CIA officer and staff member on the Senate Intelligence Committee, warned that the firings could severely damage the agency's operations and jeopardize key national security interests. Cash told NBC News, quote, "The CIA plans years in advance, recruiting new talent, investing significant time and money into training them, all with the expectation that they'll be ready to meet America's needs in the future. Firing the new employees will be devastating," he said. "It would be like a baseball team firing all of their minor league players," end quote. Now, what's not known, because it is the CIA and there are reasons to maintain some secrets, is how many of the fired probationary employees were within the operations directorate of the agency, and how many were in other non-operational positions, such as HR or finance or security, administration roles, IT, etc. Now, all those positions are important, of course, very important to the smooth running of the organization. But to be a bit mercenary, it's the operations officers who are at the pointy end of the spear. Their vetting and their training and their preparation for assignments can take much longer than for incoming employees who are slated to be working outside of the operations element. So to some degree, potential damage to the agency's effectiveness and national security interests will greatly depend on the types of personnel that are being let go. And that, my friends, is the PDB Afternoon Bulletin for Friday, 7 March. Now, if you have any questions or comments, please reach out to me at pdb@thefirsttv.com. And finally, well, look at that. It's Friday. We made it to the end of another week. And if it's Friday, well, you know what that means. Exactly. A brand new episode of our PDB Situation Report launches this evening at 10 p.m. on the First TV. Don't forget, set your watches, gather the kids and dogs around the Philco, and tune in. As usual, we've got excellent guests, and we're covering a lot of topics. You can also catch the new episode and past shows on our YouTube channel. That's at President's Daily Brief, and, of course, all the finer podcast platforms. I'm Mike Baker, and I'll be back over the weekend with the PDB Situation Report. Until then, stay informed, stay safe, stay cool.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and leave a comment, a really positive, nice, and kind comment. That would be appreciated. And if you're not already subscribed to our channel, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our daily updates.